Hello, ladies and gents. Um, I was thinking this morning, on my travels for the past 15, 16 years that I've been going after crooked police and police accountability and exposing brute tactics and militarization of police and the illegal use of force and botched investigations and all kinds of stuff. I was thinking in my travels how many officers out of all the officers I've had interactions with were good, kind, professional, compassionate, non biased, with impartiality. And I'm thinking maybe I can count them on one hand out of the, I want to guess, maybe 300 something officers I've come across and have personal interactions with. My channel's had a few names. It used to be Keen Cop Block Raw. I was part of copblock.org. A lot of my past videos will link to Cop Block Radio, LRN FM Liberty Radio Network. I was Cop Block a host for Cop Block Radio, Keen Cop Block, and founder of Keen Cop Block, New Hampshire Regional Cop Block, and Cop Chasers, which was the biggest one. And then Northeast Watchdogs. I did stuff with Peaceful Streets, Cop Watch, and this is all before auditors and the phrase content creators came out. So I was doing it right from the get go. So if you scroll back to all my videos, my first video I think was dropped 2012, 2013, something like that. But I was chasing cops before that. I think I started 2008, 2009, and I was an activist before that. I used to protest, lobby, I think from the age of 14 and 15. So we're looking since 1991, 1992. I've been going after crooked cops and doing accountability for public officials. I've always been into it because of my personal experiences as a child and what I've seen in the court system. I was in the court system. Family members were fighting over me. I had some mental health issues because of it, and I became like very, very against drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, like all that stuff. I'm really biased against all that stuff. Now, I do not judge people that have drug issues and are struggling in addiction or in recovery. My brother, he owns and runs a sober house in New Bedford. My brother Mikey was very heavy into the drug scene in Brockton, Massachusetts, Taunton, Massachusetts, and Fall River. I don't know if you know those towns, but in the 80s and 90s, they were incredibly bad. In fact, Brockton had the worst murder rate in Massachusetts, and it was like second or third in the country during the late 80s, early 90s. And Taunton was like not far behind. They had a higher murder rate than Compton, LA at that time. It was crazy. Place was nuts. And those are the places I grew up in. I grew up in a very drug infested home up until the age of 9. My dad ended up dying because of his drug use. He also had a disease, multiple sclerosis. I am diagnosed with that. It's in non-progression, but I have been having a little issues with a little bit of shaking in my legs. But other than that, it doesn't bother me. But back then, they didn't know anything about it. There was no drugs, nothing. But him having his lifestyle and being using illicit drugs kind of, I think, excelled the disease, and it took him out. At the age of 9, I was 9. I think my dad was 33, 34 years old at the time. It was like 1985, 1986. Don't quote me on the dates. I think it was around there somewhere. But anyways, I was in and out of the system because a bunch of family members were fighting over me after my father passed away because he had full custody. My mother at the time wasn't able to grab full custody at the time. I'm not sure why, but she ended up getting custody in my teen years, my high school years. I was with her and my stepfather. But before that, I was like, DCYF was involved, and like there's so many issues that had to do with that. They were trying to label me all kinds of diagnoses that weren't true. Um, I later fought all that and try to get because when you're admitted to a psychiatric facility, even as a child, it affects your ability to even own a gun under federal law, and I don't think that's right because what if you don't have the issues anymore and you're healed or treated and you don't have any issues? But that's a whole nother, discussion in itself. So other than, sharing those personal things, I was looking back at the officers that I had issues with that were good. And to be honest, I think four, maybe 5 out of 300 that have had good, professional, clean one-on-ones with. But mind you, if I go to a town and videotape police, I'm probably only going to interact with maybe 2 or 3 of them out of the 25 to 30 that are there. So you got to look at that number too. I'm not sure why, but most of the keen police in New Hampshire that I've had contact with, it's more at that police station than any other because I was casing Keene, New Hampshire, like 3 days a week from 3 p.m. to like 2 a.m. in the morning in the college neighborhoods for like 4 to 5 years straight. If you go back in my channel when it was big, I had multiple platforms to put the videos on, and I had a huge following at that time. Now it's a really small YouTube channel because it was dead for 4 years. I explained why I was locked out of my account because I've changed the number on the two-part authentication. I found a phone that allowed me access, and I had to wait like 7 days, and I ended up gaining access this past year out of from 4 years. So the algorithm just died. So I'm putting these videos out, and I'm only getting 30, 40 views. I'm hoping it would jumpstart and I can get my message out there, but I wanted to focus a little more on the good cops that I've had contact with, and I'll run through them. The first one I want to talk about is Brandon M. Walsh. Now, when I was locked up upstate, Concord, New Hampshire, he is the booking officer, the head booking officer there, and R&D. He's very quiet, but he takes care of you. I think he generally cares about who he has in contact with there. He's I can't find a picture of him anywhere. Like I literally scoured the internet for 2 days straight looking for a picture. And all I could find is his name in some promotion thing that the Department of Corrections had. That's how I found out his real name was Brandon. But there's no picture. But he's really tall. He's got a trimmed out beard, and he has I think he has a military background. Don't quote me on that, but his stature is very strong. He's over 6 feet tall. He's a big dude. I wouldn't want to mess with him. And he looks scary constantly. But when you're getting transported, you have to sit in like these old 1800s version cells. I think like the R&D department there used to be the original prison from like the 1800s. I'm not even joking. It's like iron bars, the old style iron bars, and you're in a cell literally like it's like maybe 5 feet 4 by 4, and you're just sitting down waiting for the sheriff's department to come transport you to your court cases or whatever. But he gives you food. He gives you extra headphones. He asks you if you want water, and those things go a long way when all hope is lost. You know what I mean? And your freedom is gone. And I appreciated Brandon Walsh, CO Walsh. A lot of people don't like him because he's strict if you f up. And they have to rain down those things, or things will get like out of hand really quick. That place is crazy. But anyways, I appreciated him. I think I wanted to put him first because I always think about it. Like every single day, I think about the extra apples, the cakes, the water. If your tablets, like the headphones, literally they suck. They don't last very long. He gave me 2 pair. I guess there's extras with people leaving. And the day I left, the day I was released, he just let me wander the hall. Like he didn't even lock me in a cell, like the other guys. I was just roaming, walking around, and I ended up seeing a couple people I knew. Um, but I really, really appreciate CO Walsh. I want to throw that out there. Um, and oh yeah, this is JP, the disciple critic. So the second person I wanted to concentrate on, I couldn't find a picture of him either, is Luke Anton. From the first time he ended up in King PD a few years back. I'm not sure, maybe 10, 9 years, maybe. I'm guessing. I haven't looked that up. I didn't run like these people down with their info. Very, very good. Some of them I did, but Luke, I can't find anything on his picture or nothing. But he's a sergeant. He did serve overseas. He's a combat vet. I know that for a fact. He's a good-looking dude. I have a video. I have a video short. If you go on the shorts, I think there's only 2 shorts. One of them has Luke Anton in it, and the other one is the lying BITCH cop that likes to lie on police reports and do bias investigations. And usually 90% of the time she sides with females during investigations. She doesn't talk to the male at all. She doesn't get a statement from the male at all. She doesn't talk to witnesses that witnessed anything. She takes the female's word at her word and hearsay, and literally charges the person just on hearsay alone. So I'll just throw that out there. I think I did a video on her, but that's who's in that video with Luke Anton. And I appreciate Luke's conversations with me, the one-on-ones. He's always been very laid back, kind. I've seen people in his face, drunk college kids in his face, and he holds himself extremely well. He de-escalates very, very quickly. And he generally cares about people that are struggling with recovery on the streets. I know him to go right into tent city camps and try to talk people out of their stupidity and try to reason with them. A lot of cops don't do that. They're like, get the F up and out of here. I'm going to search you for warrants, blah, 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 blah. Just, most of the cops in Keene, I think because of leaders like that, the rest of them start de-escalating when their leaders start de-escalating. So I want to appreciate Luke Anton. I've always had very, very good interactions with him. The third person is Captain Stephen Tenney. I really appreciate this guy, primarily because I think I got a picture of him. It's kind of downsize this, and downsize that. See if Stephen Tenney's in here. Here he is. I'll show you a picture of him. He's actually, I think, with Governor Sununu in this picture. Former Governor Sununu for New Hampshire. But Stephen Tenney is the one on the right. I think he's one of the police officers that donated an organ. I'm not sure if it was him or not. But anyways, Stephen Tenney, I'll give you a couple stories about Stephen. I've had, even when I was rough with him on camera, he's always responded in a good way. But there's a couple stories about him and the reason why I like him. A few years back, um, there were Pumpkin Fest riots. There was this big, huge festival they used to have every year around Halloween time called the Pumpkin Fest. And thousands of people from like all over the East Coast, from Florida, used to come up here. Um, and this one particular festival, Keene State College invited other colleges. They had DJs. They had swimming parties. Literally, there was like 150,000 kids, students from other schools, UNH, UMass Amherst, which is a really big college, and like thousands of kids showed up. And there was this guy, Matt Griffin, and this was in a very heavy off-campus housing area called Blake Street. These two like frat houses were having a bottle fight with glass bottles, and mind you, there was hundreds and thousands of kids like literally bunched up on these streets. Davis Street, Wilson Street, Blake Street. It was just covered with kids. Like there was thousands of kids. And this was like roughly around 12 p.m. that afternoon. And a girl accidentally hit a police officer. Matt Griffin, who I think got fired. I have a video on him too. My nemesis. He's on the Lori list twice for untruthful behavior. He was on the New Hampshire Drug Task Force, and he was commended for like his search and seizures. I'm pretty sure like half of those police reports were wrong, false, and he lies. He used to basically tell people to come assault me, and he wouldn't do anything about it. He's done it 3 times. But anyways, the bottle hit Matt Griffin. And Matt Griffin went up on the porch and dragged this girl down off the college porch with thousands of kids there. And after he did that, hell broke loose. Like literally, these kids went absolutely nuts. Bonfires in the streets, millions of dollars of damage. It went from 12 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning the next day. No lie. I have some videos on the Pumpkin Fest riots, but I'm sure if you look it up on YouTube, you can look at the Pumpkin Fest riots. It was crazy. It was absolutely nuts. They had helicopters, SWAT, crowd control, SWAT teams with shields and helmets and pepper balls from paintball guns. They were shooting people with pepper balls. They weren't even breaking. I literally had pictures of welts like all over my back of unbroken like pepper balls hitting me. Well, anyways, in the middle of the street, I fell on my bike because I was getting hammered by these pepper balls. And I had, mind you, when I go out, I wear a vest that says press on it, a helmet that says press. I have a strobe light, and I have my credentials hanging off a press, my ID, name, everything. I have a press pass that I used to wear around my neck, so I'm clearly identified as press, and it was still coming after me. So I fell, and one of them went off in my face. Stephen Tenney drove up in his car in the middle of the street, dragged me away from the crowd control people. They were walking in one straight line with batons, and they were literally just running people over. He dragged me and the bike out of the way to the side of the street. This was on Winchester Street in what we call College Row, because you got college houses on one side, and then you have all the dorms and buildings on the left on Winchester Street. So I was across the street from a restaurant called The Pub, and he dragged me across the street and then gave me milk. He had milk, and I poured it all over my face, started drinking it just to get like the pepper stuff off. And I'll never forget that. He literally saved my behind that day. And the second interaction was I got arrested on a false charge of simple assault. one night while I was videoing him. He brought me in. He didn't put handcuffs on me. He let me sit there and wait for the bail commission to come. It was like $40 to get out. And he just let me sit there with no cuffs. He didn't shackle me or nothing. He was nice, very polite. He's a captain. And he literally walked out of the room and left me in there in the booking room. Just left me there like he trusted me. He knows I'm not going to run and do, stupid shit. So I appreciate that. Just those little things go a long way. You know what I mean? And someday on a video, I will explain my situation that happened to me in August of 23 where my hell started. Now it's going good. I got full custody of the kids again. I'm being a full-time dad. I had full custody since July of last year. So, like, everything's going really good. The channel's back going and everything. So I wanted to give homage and props to Captain Stephen Tenney. I think he's a class act. And that's it with him. So the other person I want to concentrate on is see, I got Stephen Tenney. Oh, Joel. Yeah, Joel's another cop. I think this is him here when he was a rookie. I have a video not on my channel, but it is me. I think it's on coplock.org YouTube channel. Of me finding this chief of police from Mass in a police cruiser shopping with his wife in Keene, which is like 2.5 hours away from where he's a chief. So I was like wondering why he was using a police car for his personal use. That's like one of my very first videos, actually. And Joel was a rookie. I think it was his first week, to be honest. He was walking downtown Keene, and he was really nice. Like, he talked to me. He was very polite. He's now the lieutenant and head of the investigation bureau. He's the head detective for Keene PD. I don't really appreciate what the detectives did to me back in August. I think it was like a total one-sided investigation. They just took the other person's word and hearsay without any investigative reports of anything. They didn't talk to neighbors. They didn't talk to my kids. They didn't talk to me. They didn't get nothing from me at all. They did not sit me down and say, "What's your version?" They didn't even talk to me. So I don't appreciate any of that. And since he's a leader, you would think that they would look into that a little bit more. It was, and do a full-fledged investigation. I think it was completely one-sided. That's my opinion. But that's Joel. I've always had good conversations on the phone with him. And I'm no snitch. I don't snitch on people and rat people out. So don't think that my conversations had to do with like Freedom of Information Act requests, complaints on cops, things of that nature. So I have constant contact. I have a way of doing things unlike a lot of the auditors out there. They just want to antagonize and get police reactions for no reason, which I don't agree with. And they go into civilian places and start, "Oh, it's a public official. I don't care if she's a 75-year-old lady just working a desk, at a town hall. I'm still going to videotape her anyway." I think it's tard. I think it's tard level 10 to do that. It's stupid. They don't have any fear of acting out of impunity. They have no authority over you whatsoever, even if they're somewhat of a public official in a civilian setting. They don't have brute tactics. They don't wear Kevlar, and they don't shoot people for no reason. They can't plant stuff in your car, lie on police reports, and ruin your whole entire life because of a lie. A 70-year-old desk clerk at a town hall is not going to do that. Okay, I don't see the purpose of going in there other than knowing she's going to call the cops and you're going to have a police interaction. I go to cops. I don't let someone call them on me. There's a big difference. I think it's stupid, irresponsible, and a lot of these guys are getting arrested and charged, you know, for it. Do you have a right to do it? I think you do. The reason and purpose, though, I don't see the reason, and I don't see a purpose of doing that. I think it's just not okay, you know, to do a civilian sending. And going into the post offices too, that makes no sense to me either. That's just, they know the cops are going to get called. That's why. It's just idiotic. I think it's adolescent and idiotic. The way I do things is I have an interaction with a police officer, and if it's a bad one, I file a complaint. If my rights are violated, I may file a suit. You can file a discretionary suit that you're not asking for money, you're asking for some type of, discipline behavior, that, there's punitive reaction to that, police officer. But if it's founded, which I had a ton of founded cases, I think I've filed like over 1,000. I think like 300 of them might have been sustained. A lot of times these small towns they know each other and they just unsustained. They don't even look into it. They just say, the cop didn't do anything. Now the worst cops that I've had issues with, Matt Griffin, I already told you about that one. He's not an officer anymore, but even though he's on the lorry list, he's training them. It's just, that blows my mind. This mother effer right here, Jason Short. City of Keene demoted a veteran police officer from a supervisory role earlier this year after internal investigation found he violated department sexual harassment and harassment policies, according to documents the Sentinel obtained through a public records request. 23-year veteran, but check this out. Lieutenant Short's action behaviors, substandard leadership skills, and unacceptable at any level with this department. Summary of the internal investigation states. Short had been promoted to lieutenant August 16, 2015, served as 3 lieutenants supervising patrol, and then became the head of detectives. Short did not return phone calls for this and was pointed to the city's sexual harassment policy, which states any violation will result in appropriate discipline, even termination. I'm trying to go slow so you guys can pause and read this. It was a 15-page report. Department's command staff raising concerns about Short's behavior and prompting internal investigation that led to his demotion. Lieutenant Short has routinely displayed behaviors of anger, rage toward members of the Keene Police OA, Officers Association. Okay, frequently displays an other than positive attitude toward the job, offends and antagonizes members, as well as being unnecessarily rude and discourteous. The report from the city's police officers union states. Donald Ladine, KPOA's president, did not return phone calls. Stewart's investigation did not find evidence to support all of the Keene police. Of course, you're friends with him. You've been literally serving with this guy for 20 years. Okay, Stewart. I don't like him either. Related to sexual harassment and harassed supervisory performance standards, the summary of the investigation states. Allegations that the investigation found to be not sustained were redacted from the documents, according to the city's response. Department suspended all proactive drug investigations during the internal investigations, according to documents. Stewart said the freeze on these type of cases, which were causing the most contention in the Criminal Investigations Bureau, remained in effect until just before the investigation conclusion in April. Why didn't they dismiss them? If he was in charge of all those cases, they all should have been dismissed. The union reports goes on to raise concerns about Short's interactions with the public, multiple verbal altercations, it says, he had with staff, sexualized comments, it says he made about female officers and his treatment of confidential informants. The relationships Lieutenant Short has with the public is appalling, the report states. He puts safety in danger because he is a volatile and he escalates each incident. I've actually seen it and have videos of Jason Short freaking the F out where other police officers have to drag him away to calm him down on simple matters. Like a violation level offense open container from a college kid. He used to freak out. He even freaked out on me at the skate park a long time ago, and I filed a complaint because he started swearing at me because some kid accidentally threw his skateboard in front of his car, and he was making believe he was like undercover or something, which he wasn't. And that complaint was actually sustained. That was before he was like any leadership. This is back in 2010, or something like that. 2 instances Short attempted to guess the bra size of a female employee at the department, the documents state. When asked during Stewart's investigation about these alleged comments, according to the documents, Short admitted he probably made them and stated, "I had the uncanny ability to guess bra sizes when I was in college." Oh my God. Wow. Wow. So he's like essaying his employees. And I know the females that work there. I think there's Leslie Collier. I think she got married. She's got a different name now. Jennifer Ramey. She got married too. I think it's Truman now. Jennifer Truman. Those 2 detectives. I know the Lion Cop was for a little while before she started working for the New Hampshire Attorney General's office. She got married too. Short did not deny other instances raised in the Keene Police Officers Association report where he allegedly made comments of sexual nature toward female employees, but said he did not remember them and that if they did happen, it was in the context of a joke, the document states. In an interview with Stewart that the captain detailed in the documents, Short said such jokes were typical of the banter within the department. Oh my God. He's out of his mind. I want to read his divorce. I want to get his divorce and see what his wife said about him, which I thought was a huge conflict of interest during cases because she's the victim witness person for the county attorney's office, and he prosecutes cases. 4 or 5 employees who worked in Short's bureau said they felt he created a hostile work environment, according to the summary of internal investigation, as did 3 employees outside the bureau. So six cops are telling people that he's a dickhead. 1 of 4 employees said it's not the job that is stressful, it's Short, according to the documents. Others described purposely avoiding walking to his office, not wanting to come into work, considering quitting or leaving his bureau, and feeling that Short damaged cases by insisting without input that things be done his way, the documents state. Report alleges that there were multiple instances where Short yelled at employees and says the police union also raised concern that breakdowns in communication within his bureau imperiled officer safety. Short said he never intended to upset his employees and aimed to support their careers. According to the documents, he felt those in his bureau were like brothers and sisters who get mad at each other one day but are fine the next. You're not supposed to be family. You have impartiality and have to do things without bias. And if you think it's a family or a brotherhood, no, you're outside. You think you can act with impunity, and that's not okay. Professionalism is not friends. You know what I mean? And I'll make an example. Gordon Ramsay in Kitchen Nightmares always used to go into these restaurants. Oh, they're family. And he's like, you can't run a business when you're treating your employees like family. You need to be professional, you need to make money, and you can't let them get away with stuff. Um, and that goes the same, even more so, with police officers. Report also cites few instances where Short became angry at confidential informants, including one where an officer thought he might assault the person. Short, according to the investigation document, admitted to being mad at the informant in this instance, but said it was for the CI's own benefit. So he's literally justifying him being a jerk. The internal investigation also concluded that one instance Short failed to file a use of force report when required, documents state. Stewart told the Sentinel, Stewart, I think, is the chief of police now. He was a captain back then. Stewart told the Sentinel this had to do with a burglary investigation that wasn't well planned, with detectives believing they were going to knock on suspect's door and have a conversation, but Short feeling the suspect should be arrested immediately. The police chief didn't specify what the use of force was, only that it was more than just handcuffing someone. He added that the failure to file the form wasn't a serious violation. Yeah, it is. Like, the chief is playing this down, dude. He added that the failure to file the form, and there was some debate to how substantial the use of force was in the case. And like how they obscure that and cover that up and just throw it away like nothing ever happened. The other officers there didn't tell you exactly what happened, and they're like, oh, a report wasn't made by him. That's BS. That's complete BS. Top of the line BS. Like, I can't even. Documents said he provided the Sentinel, including several other instances where Short had faced reprimand and suspensions during his career at the Keene Police Department, most of them related to his use of department vehicles. This guy just doesn't care about anything. And he's still there. In 1999, he received an official reprimand and was ordered to work a day without pay to reimburse the city after he drove over a business lawn in a department vehicle, damaging both the property and the vehicle, documents state. What in the world, dude? Then in 2000, he was suspended without pay for a day for driving his police vehicle past a number of school buses displaying stoplights, and for exiting a crowded Wheelock Park at a high speed while being dispatched to a fight, according to documents. Oh, Lord, this guy, dude. Are you effing kidding me right now? In 2001, Short was reprimanded again and suspended for a day without pay for being disrespectful to an officer supervising firearms training at a range, who had told him he had committed a safety violation, documents say. So the instructor's like, you committed a safety violation, and Jason just started yelling at the guy. Man, it's like every year he's doing something wrong. April 2004. He totaled the police car when he crashed it into a garage on a condominium property off Base Hill Road while pursuing a vehicle that had been speeding, according to documents. State police investigated the crash and found that Short was at fault, but that he did not violate any state laws, documents say. Keene Police, however, determined he violated department policy related to the safe operation of a police vehicle and effectiveness in pursuits, according to the documents. Oh my God. The event reflects an aggressive policing style that compromised personal and public safety, Police Arthur Walker wrote in a memo at the time. The direct consequence that was a collision that resulted in thousands of dollars of property damage and the loss of the crews of many man-hours investigated time. Walker said in the memo his judgment in the incident warranted a 1-week suspension, but because precedent was lacking for such a crash, he recommended Short be suspended for 1 day and attend a defensive driving course. The department has virtually no record of taking disciplinary action against officers who found at fault for for an accident, Walker wrote. This establishes a new level of accountability in that regard. There was another crash of another police officer that I have contact with. Every time I had contact with Officer Cotton, who's a sergeant in the SWAT team now, I think, they promote idiots. I never had any bad interactions with him. In fact, when he was with the county sheriffs, I have a video of him not using his directional, and I had a face-to-face interaction with him on my channel. I forgot the name of the video, though. I think it's JP catches two illegal officers or something like that. It was a while ago. It was like 10, 13 years ago, something like that. That was Cotton in that video. He's always been respectful to me one-on-one, but I've heard a lot of stories. But he ended up crashing a cruiser, and the state police found he was at fault. But they don't get any disciplinary action for the accident, even if they're at fault. He will be evaluated every 3 months. If he fails to meet the standards set out in training, he could be required to attend more, be disciplined further, or be fired, the document states. Stewart said Short has so far remained in good standing. Are you kidding me? He's been suspended like every year for 20 freaking years, dude. But he's at good standing. Making sexual comments to females in the department, and then you still have him in a supervisory role as a sergeant. Bro, he committed SA, okay, to female officers in your department, and you let him be around in a supervisory role as a sergeant to the victims. That makes no sense. He's an essayist, a serial essayist. None of the findings of the internal investigation warrant Short's inclusion on the exculpatory evidence schedule. Are you effing freaking kidding me? Bro. That's the Lori list, by the way. Are you... No. Better known as the Lori list is cataloging the current former New Hampshire law enforcement officers whose personnel information contains potential exculpatory evidence, meaning they can't testify in any case because of credibility issues. According, they go on a list called a Lori list, which I have. I have the full list, the unredacted list, and a full file. Leave a message in the comments if you ever want to see it. I would be more than happy to send copies to you. I don't think it says anything about the culture of the department. He said it's the individual personnel matter that was brought to our attention and dealt with. I'm in shock right now. So, Jason Short, out of all the sexual comments, yelling at people, screaming, getting in, fights with colleagues and all that stuff, I have multiple videos with him. In the past. I've been back and forth with him. My interactions with him have been some of them good and some of them bad. It's like he's got bipolar. He's like 3 different people. And every time you talk to him, he's literally acting different. He's a very strange dude. Very, very strange. Like, he's off the wall strange. Pluto times 10 out there. But they put him in a supervisory role and demoted him from lieutenant to sergeant. And he prosecutes minor violations and misdemeanors in district court. He did that before. Before he was promoted to lieutenant, he was actually a prosecutor for a little while. And then they put him back. I think maybe they think he's watched and there's more eyes on him in that position. I have no idea the thought process in putting him back in a job at all. After all that, multiple suspensions since 2000, dude? And he's still getting in trouble, bro? No, Jason Short's a dirtbag. He needs to be fired, and accountability needs to be there. Obviously, his friend, who's the chief, is keeping him on because he's friends with him. He's been friends with him for over 20 years. Now, this leads me to James McLaughlin, bro. Now, this guy's on the Lori list for lying on police reports, lying to investigations. Um, and the coward filed a lawsuit against Keene PD to try to get his name off the Lori list. He's most famous for making believe, he was a teenager going after pedos back in the day. Um, I wonder if he has images on his computer and nobody's ever investigated him for it, because I heard that he still has child sex images from all his cases in his case files on his computers and stuff, which is a federal crime. I think he should be looked into, and I think those images should be taken away, and I think he should be accountable for that, having and obtaining images. I think they over promoted him, over commended him, and they treated him like some glory child in the Keene area because of all his investigative work. But yeah, he lies on police reports and stuff like that. I don't care if it was 1988. I don't give a crap if it was 1990 or 1991 or 98, wherever his instance was to lie on police reports and, fib about stuff. That's who he is. You can't change that character. When somebody is disingenuous and it tries to obscure truth, that's in their character and that's who they are. They're not blunt. They didn't, he shot like a firearm into a keg at a party or something, and then lied about the whole entire thing, and he got in trouble for it. And he lied about it. In fact, like, it could damage a lot of his cases if these defense attorneys in Keene were strong enough. Instead of making plea deals all the time, they fight for the defendants, which they don't. The county attorney's office, which a lot of people in a lot of states call district attorneys, they don't call them district attorneys here. They're called state or county attorneys here. Those are the prosecutors that prosecute cases here. And they have unlimited resources and they overcharge. Even myself, I was accused of 3 things and literally got 32 charges out of it, which was just absolutely ridiculous. And that's what they do. They maliciously attack and do malicious prosecution, and they think they can do it with impunity without any recourse whatsoever. And they think it's an effing joke, destroying lives and families over false charges and hearsay type of investigations and these faulty grand juries and fake accusations that go to the grand juries that get these fake indictments. And it's happening all across the country, not just here. But this guy, James McLaughlin, you can look him up. He's on the Lori list in New Hampshire. He was a detective, then started working as an investigator for the Attorney General's office. The state attorney's office and county attorney's office. And he's not a good dude. Not a good dude at all. Multiple lies. What else? Faulty reactions to people and all kinds of stuff. James McLaughlin is just not okay. Not okay. But I wanted to point out some of the good ones. There is, I can't remember his name. Lieutenant Shanks is a transportation officer. He transports people from the DOC, which is Cheshire County House of Corrections, to the jail or to prison or wherever the court here says he needs to pick up somebody, wherever they need to. A lot of times you have to be in person. You don't go by remote here a lot. So I think I was transported in every single case I had, whether it was DCYF, criminal, or civil. I was transported to every single one of them. And it was him that did it. He's got a partner that's really nice too. I was actually treated very, very respectfully when I went into the court, and the court officers in Cheshire are top notch. I like them. They used to give me food. You're supposed to have the handcuffs on inside the cell. They would take one off for me so I could go to the bathroom and stuff like that. Those little things go a long way, and I appreciate all the people that um, respected the inmates there and not treated them like crap. Because I know in a lot of areas that's not the case, and you do have some mean jerk offs that will push you into a wall for no reason and start yelling at you, hold his gun, and a lot of the guys there did not do that. They weren't like that at all, and they have pretty good oversight and management there. But that's all I have to say. Wanted to put that video out. I want to say happy Tuesday to everybody. I'm having tacos tonight with my children. Taco Tuesday. And as always, see you on the rewind.